This is my first live. A little nerve-wracking, but here we go. I'm going to give a few minutes here to let people jump on and see what we can make happen today. So I'm actually super excited. I'm going to be introducing you guys to amazing people that I have spent the last 6 weeks of my life with. And I'm going to let you guys hear from them what we've all been learning and the amazing experiences that we have been having. So giving a few more minutes here and we should be good to go. So as you all know, I started my freelance business 2 years ago, and I have been doing all sorts of tasks for different business owners. And I found myself stuck in growing my own business. So I've worked with a coach this year, Spike Spencer, who's absolutely amazing. And he introduced me to B.A.N.K, which is a communication methodology based in personality science. So you guys have seen me post a couple things about it. And what I haven't talked about is the amazing people that I've met in this program and the connections that we've made. They're beautiful people. So I want to introduce you guys to everybody. So I have a couple people on with me. My lovely friend Everett, Vass, and Melissa Redmond. And I'm going to bring them on. Let's see if this all works. Hopefully everyone can hear me. And we'll see what happens. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. If you're listening right now, if you could just give me a thumbs up, let me know if you can hear me okay. That would be amazing. There we go. Hello, Nasira. Hello, Denise. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to hold off my friends here. I want you guys to meet. I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay. So thumbs up, comment. Let me know if you can hear me okay, if the sound is good. And I will bring on everybody here. Thank you so much for commenting. That's beautiful. All right. And here we go. Hold on one second. And I want to introduce you guys to the lovely Everett, Vass, and Melissa. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Joel. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Of course. You know, I almost wish we could really have like the fires, like campfire look behind us to make this the official Fireside chat.
That would be awesome. Work on that, will you?
Yeah, that's the next step. But I definitely like this layout. So for anyone tuning in, Everett, Melissa, and I have just spent the last 6 weeks working through this amazing program called B.A.N.K, the B.A.N.K coaching program. And we are all on our way to become certified coaches. And before even any of that, we've just learned so much about ourselves and our business in these 6 weeks. And I just thought like how valuable it is to be able to just share everybody's viewpoints and all of us come together and just kind of talk things out as we do right now on a daily basis anyway, it seems, but to be able to share that with the world as well. So if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, and then we can go into how we all came into be this part of this family.
Everett, better.
Well, I've recently made a transition in my career, and I'm getting some echo. I don't know if that's me or if it's something you can manage, Julie.
You can take a look. Do you have if you have your headphones, try with your headphones, because what's happened is in your laptop mic and it might be picking up both sounds. So see if that's better with the headphones.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You still have feedback?
I'm still getting a bit of an echo, yeah, but I'll try to work through it without being too distracted by it. So I had pivoted in terms of my career I enrolled in a coaching for life coaching and health and wellness coaching. And I was doing those programs, and I was looking for something that would be complementary to those. allow me to sort of to get to know my clients better, at least initially. And that would help facilitate communication and really help me to serve them better. So that's how I got started with B.A.N.K. It was recommended to me. We had a workshop that was recommended to someone that I know and love and trust. So I said, okay, this friend of mine told me that this is likely to change my life and that I'll never see things the same. Which is quite true.
Right.
So I enrolled in the coaching and have been very pleased and very satisfied with the results that I've gotten, both from a personal point of view as well as a professional point of view. So I'm really excited about getting this, and this is going to become the cornerstone basically of my entire practice. It's going to be the basis upon which I run my business and I live my life now. So.
Yeah.
It's great.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Melissa Redmond. I'm from Michigan. So we're all in kind of different parts of the United States and met people from Canada, which is kind of cool. So looking at B.A.N.K, I stumbled upon it, one of Sherry Tree's videos last year, and for whatever reason, just passed it by and didn't do anything with it until stumbled upon it again this year. And wasn't a recommendation, but I was like, that's something I really was kind of interested in. So I'm going to take a look at it. And once I took a deeper look at it, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. So I'm in real estate, retired attorney. So there's kind of wish I would have had this many, many years ago. Might have explained a lot about different people I talked with over the years, especially being a defense attorney. I might have learned a few things. But now with real estate, it's amazing. I can look back really at a couple deals that I lost over the last year and say, if I would have known this then, I wouldn't have lost them. So
yeah,
just a cool program. Everything that we're learning and everything we have learned is just amazing. Back at you, Jules. There seems to be a lapse here somehow.
Are we getting a delay, a time delay, a lag in communication?
We are getting a lag.
You guys are cutting in and out a little bit here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's slightly delayed. Let me, I don't know if it's on my end. You guys see me? Am I freezing too?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you, and your video is a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
Possibly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish my video was fuzzy because I didn't get that haircut right before COVID.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Let me.
I had to slick mine back.
Oh, we lost Julie.
Hey!
Just a minute, see if we can get her back. There she is.
Lovely.
There she is.
Well, the good news is hopefully you guys stayed on.
We did. We were cracking hairstyle jokes and we're ready to go.
So you don't need me. I'm gonna go.
No,
that's awesome. So yeah, I am sorry. I didn't miss part of the end of that.
No, that's one of the greatest. That's one of the greatest blessings I had from my B.A.N.K experience was being partnered with Julie as my accountability partner.
Yeah, you get a lucky one there.
I got lucky, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so cool about this program is during the program, we all know we were tagged up with someone, and so it brought a different light to the conversations, and then we hooked up with other people and talked to other people and got to see everyone else's perspective, which was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is amazing. And it's been so nice too to be with like such a group of people that have like those same, we're all like-minded, right? Like we all have like the same general idea. We understand like the the capabilities of just integrating this system into what we're doing in our daily lives and like communication, and just obviously it's helped in the way that we all communicate with each other.
Right.
You know, it's definitely a beautiful thing. Like, I love that. I think more than anything else is that we're now all in the same, I keep calling it a family, and it totally is.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's funny because a lot of us were thinking, well, we're done with our class and it's really a letdown. But then what we found was we've established these lifelong now relationships, and through the coaching program, we're still continuing to work with each other, and it's going to make it that much stronger throughout the year. So that's really awesome.
Yeah,
exactly. I couldn't have said it better. And I think that it worked at, at two levels in terms of our own internal development, but also our leadership capability. And I think that was really big, in terms of understanding, being able to connect with people, but understanding, the sort of the why, behind their communication was also very helpful, and will continue to be.
Exactly. And for anyone who's tuning in now that doesn't know what B.A.N.K is or which coaching program we're talking about, I guess we should probably explain that a little bit. So the coaching program is based off of B.A.N.K, which is a communication methodology based in personality science. So it's looking at people, why they buy, why we make decisions in our daily life, more so based off of our core values. And, there's been a lot of personality tests and such going around, but this is literally like what each person looks at, right? So someone who likes systems and processes, we call blueprints. Someone who likes, caring people, there you go, Melissa's one. And those who, want to take care of their community and the people around them, and they're worried about the impact, are called nurturers. So that's me and Everett. But based off of that, and that's why we love this so much, because it makes so much logical sense that based off of that, obviously, if I was selling a service to Melissa, and if I was selling a service to Everett, like, their core values are totally different. So if I approach them the same way, one of them is going to say, yes, now I'm a nurturer, so obviously I'm going to talk about impact and feelings and good vibes, and that's going to resonate more with Everett than it would with Melissa. And if you've ever been in sales, or even if you're a parent and you try to influence your child, like, you'll notice that sometimes you say certain things and it'll resonate with some people and it will not resonate with others. Or on the other side of that, someone tries to tell you something and it doesn't work, but then someone else comes along and tells you the same thing, but in a slightly different way. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, of course. Yeah, that works. So this is like studying the science and why that works and how to incorporate that into what you do, like in your daily conversations. So of course it helps you with business and your personal life, but just relationships as a whole, which has been absolutely beautiful. So a part of this is we've looked at 6 different intelligences. So personality intelligence was one, which is focused on the personality. Then it was, I'm being tested right now. Sales intelligence, which is looking at, what you do, like how often you speak to people, like what are your leads coming from, like what's your closing rate, how many sales do you get, how long does it take for those sales to go through. And then we looked at emotional intelligence, which is like resonating with people, right? And being able to like step into someone else's shoes and see things from their point. And then there was business intelligence, which looks at who your target market is, like who do you want to work with,
who's your avatar,
being able, and that one was like, oh my gosh. And then there's also, I'm forgetting one, artificial intelligence. So they have like a beautiful tool that allows you to like copy and paste like different writing from different places, that analyzes the language and tells you what that person's message really was. And then spiritual intelligence, which is overall just encompassing it all, and it was like the perfect wrap up to this program. So fascinating.
Yeah, and I think I in my 30 years, my career prior to this was in sales, 30 years in sales, and so I took every kind of personality test and sales methodology. I adopted several and introduced many into various companies. But what was different here I think when you talk about selling methodologies, oftentimes they focus on, okay, how to sell. What is it? What is the message you got to give? But this turns it around. Basically, it's why somebody is going to buy from you, or why is someone going to accept, your influence or your suggestions, rather than, go their own way. So it's a matter of understanding and appreciating where your audience is coming to, so that your way, your method, your speech can be modified such that it's the most agreeable, to them, and making it easier to get along.
And that's so true.
We can all use some help with that.
Yeah, so true. I mean, we've all been taught that, you got to get through more no's to get to a yes.
Right.
It's going to take you 100 no's to get to 3 yeses. And it's just so backwards. I mean, what we've learned is, if you, like Julie said, you come to a conversation and you talk to them in a way. Now we come to a conversation, we learn how they like to be spoken to, or what their core values are, and then we can address their core values instead of just talking the way we want to talk. I've always been told, play to your strengths. Well, my strengths might be someone else's weakness, and they don't want to hear my strengths. They want to hear what they want to hear. So, Julie talked about the 6 personalities, but there's also 4 codes. There's a blueprint, an action, a nurture, and a knowledge, and that spells B.A.N.K. That's what we're from. I'm an A.B.N.K. Everett and Julie are both N's. They're higher nurturers. So my nurturer's down at the 3rd one. So, it's not that. In fact, all of mine are pretty even across the board, but I learned that I'm a lot more blueprint than I ever wanted to be or thought I was. So, what do you do with that now?
Yeah, and I learned stuff about myself. For example, Julie and I have talked about this before, how my nurturer is at times at odds with my knowledge, because needing to know versus sort of the fight that goes on between your brain and your heart, your head and your heart, and how you reconcile that, because that's been a big awakening for me in terms of what I was sort of what I woke up to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool that you can be in 4 different places at once. And, the thing is we're all made up of all 4 codes. It's just some people are stronger in one area than another area, and that's their core values. So that's what you need to speak to.
Right.
So.
And so in answer to that, Denise asked, how is B.A.N.K different than other personality tests? And I think that pretty much sums it up. But basically, we're not saying that you're only one or another. You're a combination of all of them, and you pull different parts of yourself in different situations, so as they always say, we're a lot like other personality systems, but totally different, because we look at it from what the other person's viewpoint is, and being able to understand what the other person is truly saying and what they want, being able to customize your presentation, regardless of what that is. Now, this, of course, we talk a lot about this being effective in the business realm, but in your regular relationships, between me and my son, knowing that he's a knowledge, knowing that he needs all of the research, all the facts, it needs to be logical. He needs to understand it and make his own decision. And I'm all emotion driven. That totally explains why we butt heads, right? So now I know, okay, so I present the facts, and I give him the reasons why I say what I say. And our communication is so much smoother. The friction is gone. It's a beautiful thing, just being able to be aware. And it's one of those things that once you learn it, you can't unlearn it.
You can't unlearn it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way it just kind of unifies it all, it brings it all together, such that you're not necessarily looking at things in isolation, similar to, maybe some other personality test, but the intelligences themselves, I look at them in 2 sort of camps. There's a practical, sort of more outward oriented grouping, which includes the personality, sales, artificial, and business. And then you have the sort of the internal, or the interpersonal, intrapersonal, inside way of looking at things through the emotional and the intelligence of the spiritual intelligence lens.
Yeah.
So it's just, it covers it all. It's all encompassing.
Well, it's funny because you hear everybody. I mean, if you listen to Tony Robbins or you listen to any of the big gurus, they talk about relationships. And why would you think that your core value as a blueprint would be adverse with somebody that's a nurturer? And it is, they're opposites. But the fact is if you know that, then you both can open up and say, oh, that's why you did that. Oh, I see. That's why that happened. You know, there's just, it's not that there's no two people alike. Even if you have the exact same bank code, you know, your core values might be different as to there's 12 core values to each bank code. They may shift in there. So every nurturer isn't exactly the same, and neither is every bank, you know, blueprint. But
yeah, which really caught my, or sort of captivated my imagination, is the idea that this is a language. We're learning different languages, and how we come, you know, we can understand each other by speaking the same language. We're all different, but we can come together in the language of bank.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I do love that analogy that Sherry uses. The whole, like, if you walk into a room and there's an English speaker, a French speaker, a Spanish speaker, and a Japanese speaker, and if you walk in there and you speak English, you're going to resonate with that one person that speaks English, right? The other three are going to have no idea what you're talking about, so it doesn't matter what you're saying. But if you go in and you're able to speak both English and French, now you've got half the room. And if you're able to speak English, French, and Spanish, you've got, you know, and so on and so forth. If you're able to go in and speak to each of those languages, right, those codes, then the more effective, the more impactful that you could be.
Yeah.
And I absolutely.
Right.
And
So,
then,
I think it was the 8th century king of the Franks, Charlemagne, who said, "To know two languages is to possess a second soul." So it's almost amplifying to be able to speak, you know, the language of someone else that you can connect with at a much more sort of spiritual or soul level, which is, you know, just fantastic.
I love that quote, Everett. You're going to have to send that to me.
Yeah. Well, the Germans also have, because I speak German, but the Germans have an expression that says, the more languages you know, the more you are a human being.
Yeah. You know, and the fact is we're so disconnected with being able to connect with people right now.
I mean,
look at everything that's going on in this world, and, you know, that disconnection's got to stop somewhere. And the amazing thing about talking to someone, because they're not black, white, green, purple, or whatever, but you're talking to them in their core values and what they need, is just huge. I mean, it just really makes a difference on how we communicate. And I think us three sitting here are totally different than when we came in.
Oh my God.
I feel changed, but I also feel much more, you know, focused on my values, my mission, my purpose. Because in coaching, basically the philosophy that I've adopted is that by being the best I can be, I can help others be the best they can be. And by espousing this philosophy, by using this methodology, it really cuts to the core of being the best human being you can be.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure. And that's the best part too, is like, so this whole program has been a lot of self-reflection, right? So it's the personal growth, but also with like the tools and the action plan and like the blueprint as to like what to do with that. And so how many like different personal development courses do people go to, and they get motivated, you know, it's like that impactful, and then they leave and they're like, now what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this provides the roadmap. This provides the roadmap that you need. Yeah.
100%. Now, I know myself personally, I've revamped my entire business. If any of my clients are tuning in, I'm sorry, I'll let you know soon. I'm still in the process of putting it together, but I've literally rebranded my whole self, my restructure, because I realized that, I mean, number one, I was doing business in a reactive manner, right? Like just going after whatever job and task available for like the immediate need of the financial satisfaction, right? But that not really scaling it or structuring it in a way for long term. And now I have the tools, and I've got, you know, like everything has been thought of, like who I want to work with, like how I'm going to structure my my plan, how I'm going to show up for all of my clients, you know, and what I plan to do with that knowledge. And that's beautiful. And that's absolutely priceless in what we've learned.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we're all taught the same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, you're all in sales, but we're all taught just, you know, throw this huge web out, cast a web and see who you catch, pull them back in. And, you know, that may not be your ideal client, but when you're chasing money, that's what you do. And that's why there's so many salespeople that aren't successful, because they don't know who their avatar is. They don't know who their target market is, and they don't know then how to communicate with them. And that's what's so cool about this program is we have the tools. You know, Julie talked about the 6 intelligence. One is AI, artificial intelligence. We've got a tool now to, you know, take someone's Facebook post or their LinkedIn post or a conversation you're having with them, an email, and put it in AI and help you decipher who you're talking to. And the cool thing is Julie, I don't know if you have them there. Mine aren't right next to me, but the crack your code bank cards that we have, you know,
I keep them in my wallet.
You guys have them up. So we can hand those to anyone at any conversation. You know, they're kind of like a icebreaker. Hey, do me a favor and look at these real quick and put them in order. And then we know kind of how to talk to them. You know, mine's a AB, so mine's going to be the red, blue on top. And if I'm talking to someone that's a nurturer, I need to slow down my speech a little bit. I need to be more in tune with where they're at in the community, what they're doing for the community. And not to say that I'm not community minded, because I'm very involved in the community, but I'm more, you know, go at it, get it done, go through my checklist, let's do this. So
blueprint.
Yeah, it's really amazing how it makes you stop and slow down and really look at things. So, you know, I just love the tools that we have.
Yeah, and for me, I'm just getting ready to launch my business, and so clarifying and refining my purpose, my vision, you know, both spiritually as well as, you know, personally, professionally. It was practically beneficial for me to be able to go through that, because now my business reflects who I want to be.
Right.
It's not about who I think my you know, audience wants me to be, but it's I'm really projecting myself out and being more authentic that way.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Melissa, I think your friend Denise jumped on. She says, just in the short time Melissa's been learning bank, she's already noticed how you adjust, like how you speak to different people because of bank.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
You know, it's amazing. You stop and it's like, oh, all right. You know, you just stop and think. And that's what we don't have right now. Nobody's stopping and thinking. They're all just running their mouths and, you know, saying things that a week from now, they wish they probably didn't say.
Right.
So it's being, you know, I look at it as kind of being a more, not that I've ever not been a kind person, but a kinder, gentler, slow down, take a look. But, you know, the thing is when you're in business, you're still going to, you know, I'm in the real estate business. I've done coaching with real estate agents before, and want to continue that. So there's still going to be accountability. There's still going to be, you know, things that you have to go through, but you'll do it in a way that's going to be they're more open to. So
yeah, and more mindful. I mean, one of the things that quickly became apparent for me is the habit that I have of just thinking about what I'm going to say next, rather than properly listening to the person who's speaking. Yeah. So that also, you know, understanding that, being mindful of that, and it does slow things down. You know, because I'm a K, I'm a sort of a knowledge, and I want, I want intellectual stimulation, but you've got to leave the space. You know, you got to leave the space for the other, rather than just rushing into what it is that you want to say.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed is I've I've always considered myself to be an excellent connector, right? I can walk into a room and be best friends with the 7-year-old or the 70-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point where one of my good friends, when we go out, she tells me not to make eye contact with people because she knows we're going to get in a conversation with someone, and she's not as social as I am.
Don't do that to me.
It turns into someone telling me their life story, right? So, but as I've noticed, and I wasn't really aware of it until this program, that like all of because I'm a natural I'm solution driven. So if someone tells me like some problem, like I'm going to come at them with like, oh, you should do this or look at it this way, but I've never really paid attention to giving them like the advice that they need to hear in the way that they need to hear it, right? So I've always just been quick to give like what I thought what in my mind makes the most sense, right? And that's obviously not effective because, like I said before, you get one person to tell you something and someone else to tell you something in a different way, and all of a sudden it's like, aha. So I've learned to now like step back and to really look at and listen to who they are and what will appeal to them and like what they'll actually like listen and resonate with.
Yeah.
So that's been huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of much more accommodating. It's not necessarily passive because you can still get your points across, but you know how to couch them in the terms that will be most agreeable, to that person that you're talking to.
Yeah, one of the really cool things that came out of this is we learned the triggers and the tripwires. So there are triggers to get people to get to yes faster. It's all about why they buy. So when you learn the psychology behind that, but there's also tripwires. You don't say certain things to a knowledge person. If you're a knowledge person, it has to be logical. If you present the information, present enough information, follow it up with the information or research, if it's a no-brainer for them, they're going to say yes. You can't get a knowledge to say yes. They're going to say yes when it's a no-brainer for them. So when we realize that, then our life's easier, and so is theirs, because we're not telling them about a bunch of crap they could care less about. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it works the same too. Like my blueprint is last. I think it's like not the lowest, but it's pretty low score. So if someone were to try to sell me on something and they're talking about, rules and processes and systems, like you lost me, like I'm pretty OCD with like organizing, but for, if that's how you were trying to sell me a product, I'd be like, no thanks. That has doesn't resonate with me at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Just gotta love it. So what have you both, like which intelligence out of like so we had personality, sales, emotional, artificial, business, and spiritual. I think I'm just saying it to test myself here. Out of all 6, which ones resonated with you the most? Like which one made the biggest impact?
You go ahead first now, Melissa.
Oh, thanks, Everett.
Yeah.
No pressure.
For me, amazingly enough, emotional and spiritual. I mean, I've always been really good at business. And when we did, the cool thing about this, you do an assessment when you come in, you do an assessment when you go out. I'm very critical of myself. So my assessment was low on all of them because when I go into a program, I know I'm going to learn something. So I give myself room to grow. But with spiritual and emotional, I grew in all areas. And I increased in all areas because obviously I soaked up the knowledge, but emotional and spiritual are just things that, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I've always been ingrained to be kind to people and consider other people, but not at the level that this program taught us. So it's really kind of was eye-opening. Those two connected together was just like a big aha. It's like I was missing something. So, all of them were fantastic for me. I learned a ton in all areas, but those two really were my big ahas. It's like, you've been missing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
would
that's
have to
beautiful.
agree. I mean, personality intelligence obviously is the sort of foundation of it all. So it's critical to get that sort of understood. And then the artificial intelligence was the most eye-opening,
Yeah.
at least in terms of wow factor. But in terms of mind expanding, for me, emotional and spiritual were the top two. If I had to choose one, I would say spiritual,
Yeah.
just because I really do feel like that is where it's most important, and the investment that we make there is going to pay off, both professionally as well as personally. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the end all to be all.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about you, Jill?
I have to say mine, like the biggest impact was the business intelligence, which is what kind of led me to bank anyway, because I've been, in this like stuck position in the past year, like not really knowing what I was doing with my business, where I was going. I didn't feel like I was on the right path. I felt like I was definitely worth more, but that I was meant to do more than I was doing, right? And I was just quick fix trying to help people. And so the business intelligence had me take like a hard look at what I've been doing and realizing, that I needed to like take it all apart and really restructure it, because there's nothing that I'm doing now that's scalable. I work right now by hour, by task, and there's no like limitations on the time, and it's obvious it's just me. And there's I can't grow. Like there's only so many hours in a day.
Right.
So, I've totally restructured myself, like my marketing messages, and like I've mentioned a few times, I'm in the process of rebranding and coming up with everything and building my team. And so that was something that I 100% needed. And of course, all the intelligence is like helped piece it all together. But I think that one for me made the most impact.
Yeah, it made us think.
That definitely stretched me.
Yeah. Yeah, it made us think. It's like, are you just going through the motions, or are you running a business? And the problem is a lot of people just go through the motions.
Right.
That's
because we're so busy, like you're just like busy chasing and like, okay, the next job. Or it's the whole adage too, when you say, I'll do this tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into like next week, which turns into next month, and then a year later, like you still haven't moved forward, right?
You've seen my list.
Right? Hey, we've all done it. I still have things that we're working on it though.
Right.
That's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, another beautiful thing, and I don't know if she's still on, but Stephanie joined us a little while ago. But Stephanie mentioned in one of the, I want to say emotional intelligence, and she had that whole talk with us to start out the call, and it was about like accepting like where you are and like giving yourself. I forget the wording that she used, but it's basically like forgiving yourself for not being where society thinks you should be, right? So we all put so much pressure on ourselves, especially as entrepreneurs, and we're all busy, trying to we should be successful by this time, or we should be making this money, working this many hours, or our business should be this way. And I know, like I was, guilty of that a lot, as I was constantly like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. And I realized that in the last couple of weeks after Stephanie's call, I realized now that I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. Like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And it will all fall into place. Now that doesn't mean I'm sitting on my couch watching TV, but I'm also not like, oh my gosh, like, okay, there's, stay up till 2 a.m. to try to get everything done. So it's definitely brought me more at peace with myself.
And I just want to mention one of the greatest lessons that I learned was that, the sort of the conflict that exists also between your ego and your spirit. Again, for me, it's a head versus heart type of, confrontation, but how is it that you're going to spend your time? I spent 30 years in what I call the hedonistic, hamster wheel of work. Trying to, make more money, do more. It's just And that really did not result in me being the happiest person that I wanted to be. So I think taking the time, as Julie says, taking the time, just kind of forgiving yourself, and having greater understanding, for other people as well, and bring that all into the equation, to make it a much, a better relationship.
Yeah. Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
And on the communication part too, Melissa, earlier you mentioned like how, there's so many people out right now that are just kind of shouting their like opinions, and what part of B.A.N.K has done too, I know at least for me, so I don't want to speak for you guys, but it's made me pay attention to understanding other people's viewpoints more, right? So I feel like I judge less, right? I mean, as much as we all love to say we don't judge, like we all tend to have our judgments, right?
Especially being a high K.
Right. So, but I've learned now to, like I understand more like the even like the possibilities of what people are going through, and like how in their mind things appear, and how they've like communicated with themselves, which is a big deal. So it's definitely made me more empathic for sure.
I feel the same way. I'm definitely not as critical. I think as critical, being just more understanding, and wanting to to resonate with people at a level which is much more at the level of spirit and soul.
Yeah, it's funny because we've all heard of all these personality tests, whether it's DISC or the colors or animals or whatever, but and we have the value cards with B.A.N.K as well. But I think what we miss sometimes in all of the other personality tests we take is, all right, maybe I'm a D of DISC. So, if I'm a D, then that's okay if I'm late and I'm obnoxious and I'm, overbearing in a class and take over the class. And, but I think what B.A.N.K teaches us is, you have a higher, maybe I'm a higher action, a higher blueprint, but I can't use that as an excuse, because now I'm talking and I'm relating to people based on their values, not mine. And I think that's what's so valuable about this program, is it finally gets us in a place that, I may be a high AB, I may be a high action person, a high blueprint, but that doesn't allow me to go in and commandeer a room. I'm going in the room to be able to communicate with everyone else in there. So I now need to figure out how to communicate at their level, not mine.
Yeah, I was going to say that was so significant for me as well, because although in Myers-Briggs I'm an ENFP, in Enneagram I'm a 2 and a 7, and that explains things about me, but it doesn't really explain about how I interact or how other people interact with me, and that's really critical, for the relationship. It's not we don't live and we don't act in a vacuum.
Right.
We've got to take into consideration what the other person is thinking or saying or feeling, in order to sort of I guess, modify our reactions.
Yep.
Exactly. And it makes us pay that much more attention. I don't know what just happened with I have our Facebook live stream on the other screen to make sure we're going, and it just went dark. So if you guys can comment, if you're still watching, the people that are joining us, if you guys could just comment, let me know if you're seeing the black screen of death that I'm seeing.
Love technology.
Or if you're still on, or if no one comments, then that means that no one's hearing us. So there is that too.
It means the fire is going out.
We are standing in between people and cocktails, remember?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon just chimed in. She can hear us, so we're good. And they see us. So it's just my computer. That's fine. Thank you.
I was just like, thinking maybe the campfire was going out and it was time to get the marshmallows and wrap this thing.
Right? I mean, we'll just keep talking to each other. That's okay.
and that's an important point, Julie, is that this has really introduced me to some of the finest people, and really, as you say, like-minded people, that we're motivated, that we want to go out, we want to change the world, to help, not necessarily to conquer, but to be aligned with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part that I found, like, with this, because I feel like I have like a piece of the puzzle for people, to help. Like every relationship issue I hear, every like client friction that I hear, and I'm like, oh, like, guys, like just learn to listen and understand. And so I'm like, learn B.A.N.K, like it's gonna help your life like so much, so it's hard to convince that until you go through it. And even like going through the program, like I loved B.A.N.K because I managed to always know like how to customize my approach to different people, right? So I've somehow, in my experience, I did retail sales for 20 years, so I did a lot of like one-on-one customer interactions. So I must have picked up on cues, throughout my life that I just automatically pick up. But still, like, not. It's a whole different level. So I came in like trying to hone that skill, and I've come out like, I don't even know what the words are, but I am
amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
just such a different place, and so much better than I even imagined that this program would do. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, we were both, drinking. We were all sort of drinking from the fire hose, but now that we've had a chance to sort of digest, you appreciate, what it's all about, because at the time it was just like it was coming fast and furious.
Yeah.
But I think that it's so important that we, that there is this practical side of it, which makes it really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about feelings, but there's a real practical implementation of this system that helps business, that helps you in your life.
Yeah.
It's quite
They
remarkable.
taught us how to fish.
Yeah, absolutely. They talk about learn it, live it, and we're finally living it. I mean, it took a while to get it all together, and even now I go back and I look at something and it's like, wow, I'm still learning. I didn't catch that the first time around, and now it's like I see this as just a ladder to mastery. I mean, it's something that you just don't want to let go of, because you're going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
As you go through as you iterate, it refines your awareness.
Yeah.
And the level of consciousness that you can draw upon to be able to to do that. It's quite remarkable.
And it makes us like lifetime students, right? Like I feel like now I focus more on, why people say what they say, like how they say things. And so now, like, being able to understand like what it means and what to do with it, right? I'm constantly learning. Every conversation is like a new. I see it in a different light now. So it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And whereas as B.A.N.Ks, we have a tendency to overthink things, but oftentimes previously I was overthinking things in a negative way, but now I'm much more open to positive, a more positive perspective.
Yeah.
Looking at people and looking at the interactions with people that I'm having.
Right. And for people that have just tuned in, we're all talking about a coaching program that we've all been part of for the last 6 weeks. If you guys don't mind just telling people again, like what you do, and now we can lead it to like how you plan on incorporating B.A.N.K into what you do.
Go ahead, Julie, start us off.
Me? Okay. I can do that. So I'm actually focusing my business. I've done a lot of marketing work, content creating, marketing for clients in the past year, amongst a lot of other tasks. I mean, anywhere from like helping produce a radio show to like answering emails or organizing statements. So it's been a little all over the place. But so now I'm focusing it on marketing. So I'm able to use like the knowledge that I've learned in B.A.N.K and being able to target marketing messages to the client that the business owner wants by using that knowledge. And then also being able to obviously offer the coaching program to be able to teach it to them as well. So we could give them the fish, and I can give them the knowledge that I have and use it in their business, or I could teach them how to fish and have them go through the same program that we just did, and that way then they can be able to take care of themselves.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing how that's gonna unfold.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
So I mentioned before that I came from the software sales industry. I spent 30 years internationally selling and living and working on 5 different continents. I've decided now to sort of pivot and do life and health and wellness coaching. And I came upon B.A.N.K as a kind of a way of sort of wrapping it all together, having an integrated approach, but also a great place to start with clients. And now I've appreciated how much more there is, how much more substance there is around B.A.N.K. So that's going to be basically a pervasive language for me in my practice, in my business, and dealing with people, both personally as well as professionally, and also teaching. One of the things that I love to do is once I've learned something, I enjoy teaching it, and so coaching is a natural thing for me to want to bring this to other people so that they can get the benefit that I've received.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And for me, I mean, B.A.N.K's going to be twofold. Obviously, I'm in sales. I do real estate. Me and my partner have a business that's just the 2 of us on the team. So we usually do presentations together, and we kind of tag team at open houses and everything else. So the nice thing about it is as we dive deeper into B.A.N.K, when I'm doing a sales presentation, it's going to be based on what they need, not what I want them to hear. And I think that's where we all fall down on this is, we have a canned presentation. We give the same presentation to 40,000 different clients, and you wonder why some bite and some don't. Yeah. Well, now I know. Now I know. I feel like, oh my God, now I know.
Right.
And the other side of that is to take this to real estate agents to help them learn what now I know. So it's just exciting. I mean, the coaching aspect of it, I want to take it to our MLS boards. I want to take it to our continuing ed boards. There's so many people that need to hear what we know. And whether they jump all the way in or they don't, that's totally up to them. But just hearing a little bit of it, like Everett said, you can't unlearn this.
Right.
So I think Julie said that.
Or Julie said, once you get a taste of it, it's not, it's not going away. So
and the fact that as part of what we're doing, the ongoing learning is access to the training and so forth that we can go and sort of repeat to the point where it becomes second nature. It becomes unconscious basically. And that is what I would like to get to.
Yeah.
So anyone that wants to know more about B.A.N.K, I'm on the side screen here typing in our different Facebook contact information. So whoever invited you here, if you don't have their Facebook yet, you can get their messaging there, but you'll be able to access them from the comment section in a minute, as soon as I can type it in.
And Julie, while you're doing that, I'll just make a plug for our planned coaching session that's going to start August 3rd. We're planning on kicking off a session, a 12-week session, and inviting anyone who's interested in joining us to learn more about B.A.N.K and actually go through the coaching, which is a very, very rigorous program. But it's a hands-on lessons as well as some coaching, one-on-one coaching, and getting together as a group and sharing as a group what our collective experiences are and what our learnings are, which is a great, it's a great environment to be in.
Yeah. And my first one starts July 16th. So that's unfolding July 16th. And then probably have another one in the fall in September. So, it's cool. Even though it's 12 weeks, we did it in 6 and it was just too much. 12 is going to give people a lot of time to really dig deep and get into it. And
soak in a little bit.
Yeah. And, the nice thing is we are coaching in between calls. So that helps, but excited to get it started. It will be fun.
Yeah.
You always come out better on the other side, for sure. I know I did, for sure.
100%. And that was one of the things that I liked most about the coaching program too, was the discussions, right? So being able to talk ideas out and get different perspectives on different topics helped learn so much. So that's why we're doing group coaching. And guys, for those of you tuning in, we believed in this system so much that we went through this program in order to be certified coaches, so that we can in turn help spread this message and help teach this across the board. So you don't necessarily have to become a coach. That's the path that we chose, because we believe in this so much and the impact that it's made in our own lives. But you could go through the program just to learn it, to be able to apply it for yourself as well. So there's different avenues that you can use.
And it could be a two-step process. You have be a client and then be trained as a coach. So that's,
you go through it, and then you feel like how we feel now, and then you're like, yes, I have to teach this. You have to know this. And
I want to share. Yeah.
And that's part of the thing too. So it's funny. I had an interesting conversation. Of all the people that we've met, it's been beautiful. But I spoke to a trainer, and her and I got to talking, and we were talking how powerful it would be if we were able to get this into the school districts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So if you were able to teach, a teacher how to look at their students differently, that, the kid that's running around all over the place has been, diagnosed with ADD, maybe he's just action and he's bored and he just needs a little freedom and flexibility and something a little bit more exciting. And then the person who's having maybe an anxiety attack in the corner just needs you to break down step by step of what they have to do. Put your name in the right corner, different students, different people, they take information differently, and teaching is one of those things in sales where they're told one plan, right? One lesson, and you teach it that way, for the same way that you've probably taught it for 20 years. And you customize it based off of maybe current events, but to be able to appeal to different students. And then on top of that, even if you teach it to your students and you have the students take the test, and code themselves when they walk in, and then when that kid's acting up and when you guys butt heads, you're like, okay, I understand. So your knowledge, you need the facts, you need to make the decision. I can't force you. Just a little bit of that knowledge and being aware, I think would make such a huge impact for people of all ages.
Yeah. Not only with kids, your spouse.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah. I think of the headbutting that me and my mom had growing up. It's if we'd have had this, we'd be like, oh, all right. Maybe don't agree, but now I understand why. So, but
it's kind of, for me, it's kind of under the heading of a quote that I like to live my life by. But to whom much is given, much is expected. So to give back is just a natural thing for me to want to do.
Right.
And to help other people to gain the benefit that I've received from this, and make sure that we as a human race can try to get along better, because right now that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Exactly. This is perfect. I love you guys.
Love you guys too. Learn so much. Just talking with everybody. It's just been amazing. So, thanks for organizing this, Julie.
Of course.
This is awesome.
Can I give you one more quote? Can I give you one more quote before we close? Well, I'm very sort of philosophical, and this is one of my favorite ones. If you're familiar with Pierre de Teilhard de Chardin, he's a 20th century French idealist philosopher. He was also a Jesuit Catholic priest, but he said, "You are not a human being in search of a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being immersed in a human experience." Many people know that side of the quote, but it goes on to say, "We are one after all, you and I. Together we suffer, together exist, and forever we'll recreate each other. Our duty as men and women is to proceed as if limits to our ability did not exist. We are collaborators in creation. So that's the ideal message that I think goes along with B.A.N.K.
That's beautiful. And I've never heard the other
We are
half.
collaborators in creation. We're recreating this world that we want the world to be. We are the change that we want the world to be.
Love it.
I do love that.
Love it.
It's perfect. Well, thank you guys for joining me, and thank you everyone for tuning in and your comments. I'm sorry I didn't get to comment back and question as much as possible. This is our first live stream, and other than me disappearing for a few seconds there at the beginning, I think it went pretty smoothly.
You recovered quickly.
We promise to get better and better rehearsed.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and guys, reach out to us if you have any questions at all. We are here to share what we've learned. It's been beautiful. And
Sending you love and light. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.